had been a photographer first, and then my wife and I opened up a graphic design studio back in the early days when the Macintosh was fairly new and desktop publishing was just becoming a thing. And so we had launched a newspaper for Macintosh users in Tampa, Florida area. And we used to give it away for free at all the computer stores, because back then there was a bunch of computer stores, big ones, big giant computer stores with huge traffic. And so we would give these away, and we used that newspaper to advertise our seminars, and that's how it took off. So years later, we went to Adobe. A few years after having these successful tours, we went to Adobe, and we wanted to start an association for people who used Photoshop. So we founded in 1999. We founded the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, which just took off. It was huge, and we did that for many, many, many years. And then we started Kelby Training, which was just online classes. And then at one point, we merged the two. We had the National Association, which was poorly named, by the way, because we had people all over the world. But the national one makes it sounds like it's just a local thing. And then we had this Kelby Training, which was exploding, which was the online. And so we took NAP and Kelby Training and made them one. And that's where the name Kelby One came from. So it was all of the stuff that we do in one place. And so we consolidated the price and everything so it wasn't as expensive. And that's how it all came to be. So I've been basically training on Photoshop or photography since 1993. And I wrote my first Photoshop book I wrote my first book in 1997, and then wrote my first Photoshop book in 99. And so since then, I have written 106 books.
No. Wow.
So now, I didn't write them all at once. It took me 20 years to write them all. And I just finished one. Just finished another book this week, a photography book. During the course of the year, I have a full-time, like on my staff at our office, I have a full-time editor, and I have a full-time layout designer. And they've been with me, 15, 17 years. And that's their job. Their job is to edit my books and lay out my books, and we deliver my books ready to go to press to the publisher. So that's been an important part of my life and my career, is writing books. So that's something I love to do, and I always do it. And my son's a writer now, and so it's in the family. My daughter's a writer. It's in the blood, and so that's what we do. So it's all kind of tied together. It's funny how it all worked out. I wish I could say it was part of a master plan, but it was one lucky event after the next. So, the only thing I would say is if a door opened up, we usually walked through it. So if there was an opportunity, we're like, hey, maybe we should be doing this. Maybe we should try that. And we tried some things that worked and some that didn't work. But overall, I have no complaints. I'm about as happy as I've ever been in my life right now. I'm just super enjoying life and enjoying photography. And I love all the new gear that we have. I love the AI stuff. I love all the, I think it's just an amazing time to be a photographer. So it's very fun for me personally. It's a cool time to be alive in many ways.
It's probably 1 megapixel or whatever it was, if even, and
oh yeah. The first one. Yeah.
Yeah. I would take pictures of my dog, and I would cut my dog out and put in another picture. I remember we had with neighbors, right? They were from San Francisco. And they were working for a U.S. company over here in the U.K., and they were living next door. And then after a couple of years, they moved back to the States. And so as a goodbye present, it's a small village. And as a goodbye present, I went around and I took pictures of their house, which is like an old cottage, like old typically English countryside cottage. When I went around, I took a picture of their house, and then I took pictures of all the neighbors, and then I pasted all the neighbors into that picture with Photoshop.
Oh,
I mean, I could have just gotten them all together and line up in front of the house. I don't know why I didn't do that. It would have been a lot easier. But I don't know. I like the challenge, But it was just like these, and again, by modern standards, the final product of that looked pretty terrible. But back in the day, it was like, whoa, I could do that, like from home. What?
Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was an amazing time. It was really, there was nothing like it before it. It was pretty groundbreaking. It's funny is what's weird is I got into Photoshop the same way. I wanted to do I was doing a newsletter for my band. So I was playing in a band full time. I had a band called Rumor Has It, and we did a newsletter. Would say, here's the next 4 nightclubs we're playing. We'd play a week or 2 weeks at a time. We'd send it out to our mailing list. And I went one day to have it done, and I went to the same print shop, and they were like, oh, well, the girl that does our desktop publishing, she's out for the week. And I'm like, oh, no, I got to get this done today. And I go, so is there not somebody else that can do it? And they go, oh, no, we use desktop publishing. It's like cutting edge. And I'd never heard of the word desktop publishing. And literally 2 days later, I'm driving down the road from work to home, and there is a sign out in front of a business called Do It Yourself Desktop Publishing. And I pulled in, and I met the guy who was super nice. And he goes, yeah, we rent you time on a computer, and we have Photoshop and PageMaker and Adobe, or Aldus Freehand, it was called at the time. Mm-hmm. And he goes, and, I'll get you up and running, and we have a laser printer, and you'll be able to have something you can take to your print shop, and they'll print. And I'm like, and I can do this now. And he's like, yeah, you can just sit there and type it in. And so I called my wife and said, honey, I'm going to be late. I'm at a do-it-yourself desktop publishing center. And I did it. I made our first newsletter. Now, I was particularly enamored with the ability to use fonts, because up to that point in my life, it was a typewriter.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.